On this edition of Public Interest, the shooting death of a Jamaica Urban Transit Company JUTC driver has sent the public passenger system into a tailspin. We'll update you. Also, a teacher attacked and mauled by 4 angry dogs. What needs to happen next? The World Championships starts tomorrow. What are our medal prospects? And later in the program, Karen Brown looks at sugary drinks in schools. I am Andre Jebinson, and Public Interest starts right now. The public transport system was interrupted earlier this week following the shooting death of a JUTC driver and speculations about what may have precipitated his death. Of course, hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans rely on the JUTC to get to their destinations. For the latest on the situation, we're being joined on the phone by JUTC Managing Director Paul Abrams and Inspector Sean J. Mitchell of the Corporate Communications Unit of the JCF. We'll start with you, Mr. Abrams. Can you give us the latest situation with the JUTC?
We rolled out 120 buses this morning. We have a number of drivers that were reluctant to go out. We are in a shift change at this present time. And of course, the rain has delayed a bit of that. So we're just doing our tallying of our numbers right now to see how many buses will be out this evening.
All right. And of the drivers that you have, how many actually turned up for work today?
We had 100 plus called in sick, and I'm not exactly sure how many drivers turned up, but we were able to roll out 120, I believe. 100 called in sick, so that's, let's say, 220. So we would probably be short. I'm not short, but probably would have had an additional 100 or 110 sitting in the depots.
Oh, okay.
The total complement should have been about 375 to 400 in the morning.
All right, so the latest bulletin that you sent out today, or the JUTC sent out today, saying you're cutting off services at 8 p.m. today and you expect to resume by 5 a.m. tomorrow. How optimistic are you that things will actually go as planned tomorrow?
Well, we are working as suggested to try and ensure that the drivers will feel comfortable to go out back in the morning. We have had meetings today. We've had extensive discussions. We understand the concerns of the drivers, but we also have a concern of the commuting public also.
Could you take us into what that meeting was like? What were the drivers saying, and what do they want in order to return to work?
Well, the drivers are concerned, as you know, of the level of threats that are being issued on social media. For example, we heard that a bus was on fire this morning, and of course, in the meeting at about 4:30, there was no buses on the roadside. I don't know, social media is just doing a number on this challenge right now.
All right, but let me turn to Inspector Mitchell. Stay on the line, sir. Inspector Mitchell, understandably, the drivers are a bit shaken by what happened to their colleague, and so they're fearful about actually returning to work. What assurance can the JCF give to those people that it is actually safe to return to work?
Right, so the High Command of the police force have put certain things in place. So on a number of the routes that JUTC buses travel, we have boosted our presence there. The Jamaica Defence Force has also implemented some amount of strategy to supplement that. In the interim, we have met with some persons within the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, and we have devised some strategies to have some officers on some of the buses to ensure that they feel safe while they are carrying our passengers.
Okay. And Mr. Abrams, we heard that there was some counseling for some of the drivers too?
Yes, Rockford had grievance counseling this morning. It's something that we think is very important.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of grief in the depot. As you know, the driver that was killed is from the Rockford depot, and a number of his colleagues were close to him. So we thought it best that we have grievance counseling this morning along with other meetings that we've had with the drivers, to reassure them that the High Command is doing everything that is possible to ensure their safety. And the commuter's safety also.
Is there any information that you can give about this particular driver? Because I mean, I know that he was preparing to bury his father, and people speak highly of him. Can you share any information at all about him?
No, not at all. Just that he's a driver that works in the service department, the maintenance service department.
Okay. Inspector, is there a link between the incident that took place with the taxi driver and the JUTC bus driver and the shooting death of the 34-year-old?
Right, so after a preliminary assessment, it was concluded that the incidents are in fact connected, and we have started our investigation surrounding that. It is very unfortunate that the altercation between two persons led to the death of two drivers, albeit the second person in the incident wasn't involved in any way. Mm-hmm. And of course, that person who died in the second incident was by extension a member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. His father was a member of the JCF, mm-hmm. and he passed sometime last week. So it's tragedy all around, and we grieve with the family and of course with the Jamaica Urban Transit Company.
Do you have any suspects? Do you have any leads on who may be responsible?
No, we are following information right now, not actionable intel at this moment, mm-hmm. but we are looking into different areas. We're checking our traffic cameras, we're checking with persons in the area. We are appealing for witnesses to come forward and supply us with whatever information they might have.
And based on what mm-hmm. the police knows, what was that initial incident? Could you give us some background into that?
So that incident took place in the Duane Park area, where a member of the JUTC, well, a driver from JUTC got in an altercation with a taxi operator from the area. Mm-hmm. That altercation led to knives being drawn. Both persons were injured in the altercation, and that taxi driver subsequently died while undergoing treatment at hospital. And subsequent to that incident, a number of threats were issued on JUTC drivers, on JUTC itself, and the police, we are aware of these threats. And of course, that's why we have decided to support the Jamaica Urban Transit Company by boosting our presence along many of these routes, as well as strategic deployment of officers on certain buses.
Mm-hmm. Do you mm-hmm. view these threats as credible? Because I mean, sometimes people will take to social media and they will say mm-hmm. All manner of evil, but at the end of the day, it's just that.
Well, as a police organization, you have to take everything seriously. Mm-hmm. It's better to investigate and to prove or disprove that threat than to not investigate, and then we have a situation where we have other incidents stemming from that one particular incident. So yes, we get these on a daily basis and we do investigate all of them.
All right, Mr. Abrams, is there anything, any internal training or anything like that that you say to your drivers in a situation where you may feel under attack? What do you do in that situation?
Well, I think that in their driver training program, it's reminded that you're not to leave your seat in any such altercation like that. You know, it's always best to keep seated if you're in any sort of road rage or any sort of situation. It's best just to keep your seat in the bus. And once you vacate that seat and you exit the bus, anything is possible at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, there's sometimes though that you may feel that you're in genuine jeopardy. So I mean, if someone is coming at you or if there is an attack, you can't remain seated. So what do you do in that case?
If you're under attack, in that case, I presume you'll have to try and defend yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the
but if you exit the bus, that's a whole different. If you're in the bus and you're under attack, that's one thing. But if you exit the bus, then that's a whole different game.
But
anything is possible at that point.
Do you get complaints regularly about your drivers being on probably not fatal incidents, but passengers or even another colleague or so attacking one of your drivers?
I didn't hear the first part.
I was asking if there is a recurrence of your drivers coming under attack by either commuters, other drivers, other PPV operators.
Well, I think the job is a very strenuous job. We deal with 140,000 people virtually every day. Every person has a different fingerprint, so you never know exactly what is happening in their lives, and it could be a tense situation and you're not aware of, and you say the wrong thing, and who knows what can happen after that.
All right, so at the timing of this recording, we're approaching the time where you'll probably be busiest. Tell me, what is that situation like now, how you're navigating that with a limited number of bus drivers?
Well, we can just ask persons to carpool, be their brother's keeper, try to use all the legal means of transportation to get back to your destination. We are doing everything possible that we can to try and resolve the situation. And we ask the commuting public to be patient with us, but we are working assiduously to try and resolve it.
Okay, and what do you say, Inspector?
Well, as Mr. Abrams said, we encourage persons to be their brother's keeper. If you live in an area that you have persons living in there that you know rely on the JUTC for transportation and you can assist, we ask that you do that. Also, we ask that persons or employers be a little lenient with the persons who are employed within their organizations, allow them to leave a little earlier, be a little more lenient with the time they arrive in the morning, pending the outcome of this dispute that's happening now. So during that time, from a security standpoint, we have boosted our presence along many of these routes. The police remains committed to ensuring that our citizens remain safe at all times. And that's why yesterday we had that impactful decision to have a couple of our buses transport members, especially students, to school. And it's just part of our social responsibility to our citizens to keep them safe.
All right, Inspector Mitchell, Mr. Abrams, thank you both for joining us. We're taking another break on Public Interest. We're coming right back. Welcome back. We're looking at one of those issues that has been dominating social media for the past week, the vicious attack of a teacher by 4 pit bulls. We're being joined by Pamela Lawson of the Jamaica Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Ms. Lawson, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let me first of all get your reaction to the very serious, tragic incident which took place with this teacher.
It's simple. It is tragic. It is unfortunate, but it did happen. And until we as a country deal with our stray animal problem or our animals being allowed to roam on the streets, it's a problem that will keep reoccurring. It's not the first time, it shan't be the last.
But that's sometimes easier said than done, because I mean, there are dogs that you have as your pet that you cherish and you do all you need to do to take care of them. But then we find this, sometimes you're in communities and you just see dogs and I mean, they're just there. So how do you deal with a situation like that?
Well, most of the attacks that we're seeing anyway are owned animals. And let's be honest, they're becoming individuals' first line of defense from unwanted guests. So they're making sure not to socialize these animals with strangers. They want their animals to be reactive or bad, as we would say. But in the same breath, they're not willing to keep them within the confines of their personal property. So a lot of the incidences that take place are actually people who are jogging and walking in the mornings and the evenings, majority of them actually, or children going to school or coming from school, and the animals literally have access to the streets.
Mm-hmm. Wow. But then turning attention to this particular breed of dog, and then, I mean, you joked about it earlier, about pit bulls. People are saying, I mean, pit bulls sometimes aren't supposed to be dogs that you have
Why not?
at home because of how vicious they can be. And their own instinct is to be vicious.
To be protective. That
Right.
is the word you really mean.
Right, but I mean, protective in the case of a dog sometimes can be misconstrued by the dog, if you see what I'm saying. So they might be of the impression that, you know, there's a need to protect here when there really isn't.
It's the same bad rap that Rottweilers are getting. And many years ago when Dobermans were very popular, it was an issue, especially I know in England and the US, where packs of Dobermans were causing injuries. It's what's popular. So if you have certain breeds of dogs that are popular, you have larger numbers. Larger numbers mean more likely higher number of incidences. So it's the numbers that really count. But when we look at the reports that we get for injuries or where we hear that there's been a pit bull attack, I can tell you the honest truth. I was looking through a popular sort of media that comes online, and I was looking at some of the old issues that came up with dog bites, and all of them said pit bull, and I knew for a fact that half of them were not pit bulls.
Yeah, but when you look at the severity of the bites, because I
Do
mean,
you remember a young child, Joshua, that was injured about 2 years ago, severely mauled? It said pit bulls. They were Rottweilers. There was another case where a lady, Upper St. Andrew again, severely mauled, mongrels. When I went through all those reports, they were not accurate. And it is what we have to be careful of, is sensationalism. It sells.
yeah, but you mentioned the case of the mongrel, you mentioned the case of the Rottweiler, but are you therefore saying
That pit bulls are not the only aggressors?
which would you say, or which would you classify as perhaps the most vicious, the most aggressive?
None, because I know there are many breeds far more aggressive.
I mean, those that people generally have as pet in their homes. I mean, you hear about
If
Rottweilers.
you
and
look
hear-
online for the 10 most dangerous breeds, do you know where pit bulls will come on that list?
Yeah, but let's put it in the context of those that are domesticated in
And
Jamaica.
I mean domesticated in Jamaica. We are far more worried when an animal comes into a clinic, when a small breed animal comes in the clinic, of being bitten than we are by a shepherd, a Rottweiler, a pit bull. You are more likely to be bitten by a small breed dog than any other breed.
Right, so at this point then, would you countenance any efforts by the government? Because we hear the local government minister making some pronouncements.
I heard that this afternoon.
Would you countenance anything being done to perhaps...
I totally support having legislation to control dangerous dogs. Totally. And I think that owners must be held accountable when
What
their
would that
animals
look
do
like for
harm.
you?
Sorry?
What would that look like for you?
I do believe that once animals have become a problem or have demonstrated they could be dangerous within a community, and usually there are signs, and it's very obvious, if the owner doesn't ensure these animals do not have access to the general public, that if something does happen, it should not be just a civil matter. I do believe there must be punishment under the law, which currently, if your animals maim, seriously injure, or kill someone, the only thing that the family members can do is take you to court and try and get financial compensation for that.
So you think people should go to jail?
Let's put it this way. I know of individuals that we've had to speak to on many occasions about their animals and the risk and threats that they pose to others, and they do absolutely nothing. Now, do you not consider that criminally negligent?
So you're saying they should go to jail?
I'm saying they should be charged under the law. There should be some accountability of the owners.
So based on what you've said, do you disagree with the move to put the dogs down, or you think they should be returned to the
Well,
owners?
first of all, nobody's going to put those dogs down except me, isn't it?
You say that to say what?
What I'm saying to you is any decision that the country should come to as to how to deal with many of these animals, the first place they're going to turn to try and implement such a project or plan is they're going to come to us.
Seems like...
Now that means you would have to come into my home and if you put in a law and said pit bulls are illegal, they must be put down, given up, whatever. You'd have to come into my yard because I've rescued many of them. And they're of no threat to anybody.
So you're saying that you would not be willing to put them down?
I wouldn't be willing to let them in my yard to do so. You see, it's an emotional thing. You cannot walk into people's homes and then say you're going to do this or do that. Yes, we may have to do it in phases. We may have to do legislation that means that you have to register the animal if you own one. You need to be held accountable. It needs to be microchipped or whatever. That I understand. But we have to be very careful that we don't get carried away and go from the sublime to the ridiculous.
Yeah, but if you have a very specific situation like it did this weekend.
Those animals were euthanized the same day we were responded.
Right, but which is what I was asking you. So
oh yes,
would you be willing
that
to...
is the norm. I have no problem with instructing staff to do so.
The distinction that you make is once they have been
once there's been a
involved-
serious attack, those animals.
So is it a case where once
have to be euthanized.
once they've been in such an incident, they cannot be rehabilitated?
No, I didn't say they couldn't. I'm just saying we
No,
won't.
but I'm asking. So what?
We
why
won't.
then? Why
because
then would you?
that's the standard of the norm wherever you go in the world. If an animal, of any animal, doesn't have to be a dog, if an animal does serious harm, maims or kills or seriously injures a human, it is put down. That is the practice.
All right. So what program, if any, do you have in place then for dog owners, whether vicious dogs or just dogs who might be straying? What programs do you have in place to help owners to be more vigilant to keep their dogs within their confines?
I think it's just a bit like you get a gun, you have a child, whatever. With everything you do in life, there's responsibility. You have to accept the responsibilities that go with that. Now you get certain breeds of dogs. You make sure your property can hold those animals. There's a sufficient space, shelter, that you can afford to feed and water these animals, and that they're not going to be a threat to anybody. For me to make provisions to help them, they shouldn't have got them in the first place. They're not children. The people who get these animals are not children. They're adults. There are responsibilities with everything.
All right, and just to be clear, you're saying that there is no greater risk in having a pit bull in your house or in your home, in your yard.
Than if I had a Rottweiler, a Doberman, a German Shepherd, a good-sized mongrel. You see what happens with the pit bull? They're strong animals. They can be powerful animals. Of course, when they bite, they're going to inflict far more injury and damage. I mean, there was the old wives' tale that if a Rottweiler or a pit bull locks its jaws, nothing can open it. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish it is. But remember, pit bulls were once called nanny dogs because in days of old, they were left behind to look after the wife and children, right? While the men had to go out.
On a quick note, before we actually go, so if you're being attacked by a dog, or twofold question, if you're being attacked, how do you escape that one?
Well,
but if you see someone being attacked by the dog, what do you do? Because the man who actually, the Good Samaritan from this incident said he was trying to,
get out of the car, try and help her.
So how do you protect yourself, one? And how do you protect someone else who's being attacked?
It's simple to say how you can protect yourself, but to do it is another matter. I mean, if it's one dog, you have a good chance. You can fend yourself, or you can... Personally, don't run. You will never run faster than a dog. Stand your ground. Don't stare it down either. Just keep your eyes above them.
Yeah, but people always say if you're staring at the dog, then the dog will...
Well, then you're challenging him.
Oh.
Just like if you did it to another human, you're challenging them. If you're bad, come.
So what, you
kind of just look over them. It works, actually. If it's a pack of dogs, sorry.
Wow.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't see how you would be able to defend yourself, except for maybe to try and prevent as much injury facially throat, chest as possible by rolling up into a ball. There's not much you can do.
Okay. Wow. All right, Ms. Lawson, thank you very much. You're watching Public Interest on PBCJ. Welcome back to Public Interest. I am Andre Jebinson, and the World Championship starts tomorrow in Doha. And we're being joined by Nodley Wright as we go through some of those we probably expect to medal, we don't expect to medal. This is, of course, the first one in a number of years without Usain Bolt. What is your outlook for the 2019 edition?
I think it's going to be bright. We're going to get, won't be as good from the men as it will be from the women. As you know, Usain Bolt is a huge loss, and we don't have anyone who has come in to fill that gap. Johan Blake is our best bet, but I don't think he'll medal. If we were to break the events down one by one, let's start with the 100 meters women. I think we could safely say we'll get 2 medals there in the 100 meters.
Right,
both Elaine and Shelley, possibly gold and silver, or we'll get 2 of the 3 medals there.
Who's getting the gold?
I think Elaine, if her form goes back to what we had at the trials, then Elaine should win. Though Shelley did exceptionally well subsequent.
I mean, you have 2 1070s, so I mean...
Yes, but Elaine was rounding into better form going into the trials, but subsequent to that, she hasn't looked that great. But it could be because of the training program that she's on. I wasn't particularly happy with Shelley's last race when she lost to Dina Asher-Smith, who would be a major threat, along with Marie-José Talu of Ivory Coast. But I think we should get 2 medals there.
Okay. And you're optimistic that it's gold and silver?
We'll get two of the 3. We'll get 2 of the 3.
All right.
And gold will be one of them.
All right, so you're moving on from the 100 meter to what, the 400?
I move on to 100 meters men. I don't see...
No, let's do the women.
Oh, fine.
Right, yeah.
So we move to the 200 meters. I think we'll get another 2 medals there again.
Really?
Yes. Both Shelley and Elaine. I think Elaine again will get the gold. Shelley will silver or bronze. You didn't expect Shelley to medal in the 200 meters?
I was thinking more Elaine, but like you said about the 100, her form going into championships wasn't that great. I mean, I just don't know if Shelley will actually...
Never count out Shelley. I think you'd have learned that by now. You can't count out the champion, and she works extremely hard, and she's good.
So who do you think will win the 200?
I'm thinking Elaine.
And then the other person, sorry, Sean is not running the 200, unfortunately.
Unfortunately?
Well,
why is that unfortunate?
Well, fortunate for us, but unfortunately when
because she was beating everybody street and
lane.
lane.
About the competition and all of that, you mean you want to see a good line?
No, I didn't want any competition.
You don't want any competition?
No, not at all. I want a Jamaican.
Right. So you're saying that you think Elaine might do the double?
No, Elaine will do the double. And Shelley will get a silver or a bronze at the 200. Dina Asher-Smith is a big threat, as is Marie-José Talu. Those are, I don't see skippers getting a medal this time around.
I mean, right. And then let's go on to the 400 meters now.
400 meters, our best chance is Sherika Jackson. She won a bronze medal the last time. She's our best person there. Maybe McPherson will get to
Yeah,
the...
Stephanie won a race a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, but she doesn't have the strength to do the rounds. I think Sharika is the one.
Okay. Is there any other track prospects?
We do have the 400-meter hurdles. There is Rochelle Clayton, who has been doing better than Janeve Russell. But Janeve Russell is a competition person. She's a warrior. So I think both of them have a chance of getting into the final. And once you're in the final and you have a lane, there is the possibility that we could medal there. And if we were to medal, I'd say our best bet would be a bronze with Janeve.
Well, how about Danielle Williams? I mean, there was a lot of...
with the 100-meter hurdles, definitely. Danielle is the favorite. She goes in with the fastest time. In fact, she has run her 4 fastest times this year. I think the incident that happened at the trials really lit a switch in her, because she's been a different animal coming out of that, because she realized she had to run for her place. And she really has put everyone behind. I mean, Jonique Brown was our best bet going into our national championships, because she had the fastest time, but now she will do good to get into the final, which I believe she will do. So we'll have 2 women in the finals, but I'm looking for Danielle to win.
Sorry, complete. To win.
Yeah.
You think that the world record is in sight or no?
I wouldn't go as far as to say that, but she's rounding into a nice form. So I wouldn't be surprised if she did challenge it, but I'm not looking at it right now. And I'm still looking at Kendra Harrison out of the United States to be good competition for her, but I expect Danielle to win.
All right, so we always expect to walk away with something in the 4x1.
Yes.
We haven't been that impressive this year, but then we haven't had the full team with Shelley and Elaine. Where do you see us placing?
Our worst place will be second. We could win. We could win. 4x4 women, I think we're looking at a bronze. We're looking at a bronze. It's safe to say we'll get a bronze there. Of course, we'll come up against the UK, Russia, but I think if I'm looking at the US, and if the Bahamas could come up with another 3 people to join Shawnee, then they may do something special. But I see the US winning the women's 4x4 easily.
All right, let's go over to the men now.
Let's
not overlook. Sorry, please, let's not overlook the field stuff.
No, before we even touch the field, 800 meters, Natoya Gould.
You think Natoya will break through this year?
She does. She does. I think she had the 3rd fastest time this year, So she could be in line for a bronze. And also the 4x4. Yeah, well, she definitely will run that. She'll run a leg, but I'm thinking about an individual bronze medal. She really has been improving while she has been soaring. I mean, what happened to Kemoy, really sad, but... Right. How about the field stuff? Do we expect... I'm looking at a list. Yes, Ricketts should... Triple jump. She's a diamond winner, right? Right. I'm looking at least a silver for her. Okay. All right, so let's jump over to the men now. No, before we go, there's a shot put to Danielle Thomas Dodd. She could be in line possibly for a bronze medal in the shot put too. She should do something there. Okay. Ewan Blake, I mean, every year Ewan says, I'm getting back, I'm going to do better, I'm going to do well, but then... I mean, he's the fastest Jamaican this year, but I don't see him going up against Christian Coleman, Justin Gatlin. I don't see it. You think Gatlin will defend, or you think... No, Coleman will beat him. I think Simbine will beat Gatlin as well, but Gatlin really has a different mentality. He's a tough competitor, but I don't see him defending. What lane he won from last time? I think it was... I don't remember, but outside? You see, in the 100 meters, the lanes don't matter so much. I think most people would like lane 4 or 5 because at least in your periphery you could see your challengers on both sides, but the lane doesn't really affect you. It's not as if you're running the curve. The curve is a little bit different because some people don't run very well starting out front. Some people don't run very well being chased. Some people are better chasers, but in the 100 meters it's just a straight dash.
So you think the outlook for the 200 is the same as the 100 meter? Nobody really coming through?
Oh yes, no, we don't have a ghost of a chance there. I think our best bet will be in a few years when, what's his name, Sigri, what's his name again? He goes to Calabar now. It's Kari Russell's cousin. He will be our best bet, Sigri.
All right.
And that's a few years from now, maybe 4 years, 4 years.
So when you look at the 400 meters now, people are saying that don't count Akeem Bloomfield out.
That's his event. I don't know why he wasted time trying to be a Bolt with the 200 meters. That's not him. He has an outside chance of medaling in the 400 meters. I don't see him getting better than a bronze. You have Curly and Norman, who are in better shape and form than he is in now. I think he rounded into good form in the Diamond League final where he came third, but third is the best bet.
All right, so this is not our year for the sprints.
And not the year for the males either.
Not the year for the males. Omar McLeod.
I would see him, both himself and Ronald Levy, challenging for medals. It hasn't been a great 2 years for Omar McLeod. I think he has had injury issues. He changed coaches and stuff, so it hasn't been the smoothest time for him. But a tougher competitor mentally, you will not find an Omar McLeod. So I expect him to be in the top two.
How about Frederick, Travis, and O'Dane? Do we expect anything from them?
Dacre's definitely a medal in the discus. He can win. He should win. He has been the most consistent over the past 2 years, and maybe just in the last 2 months or so, he hasn't looked his best. But I'm looking for a gold from him.
Okay. All right. We didn't touch on the relays, the 4x1 and the 4x4.
4x1 men, no, we're going to finish outside the medals. 4x4, possibly.
Bronze.
Yeah, that's a possibility. And the 400 men's hurdles, Mott may make it to the final, and that's the best we'll look. Not much there.
Wow. What do you make of the state that we're in now? Because, you know, normally we expect something in the sprints, definitely. And the relays, we're just trying to figure out which position they'll come in. But now it seems like, you know, a long shot for a couple of the relays, and then, yeah.
Cycles. It goes in cycles. There are times when the US were dominant in the sprints. There are times when we were dominant. It's just not a good time for us right now. And I think we rode the Usain Bolt train as long as we could have ridden it. Now it's time for us to really develop new talent and to nurture them, to get them through. And for me, the brightest is Oblique Seville, who I mentioned earlier, and he's two years away from being competitive.
Right.
Chris Taylor will come and be decent in the 400 meters, and possibly 2, but not anytime soon.
How many medals do you think you'll get?
Anywhere between 11 and 13. Anywhere between 11 and 13. Now let's check them. Elaine and Shelley will give us 4. Daniel will give us 1. That's 5. Sharika will give us another. The women's 4x1, the women's 4x4, the discus men's sprint hurdles, how many? About 9. The long jump, not the long jump. Tajay Gale, I didn't mention Tajay Gale in the long jump. Tajay Gale has a chance of medaling in the long jump. He could get as high as a silver or a bronze.
My thing with
and Ricketts will get at least a silver.
We always make projections for the track, for the field stuff. And
No man, Tajay,
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but often we make predictions for track, for field, and then they don't materialize.
We weren't disappointed the last time. I think Williams in the triple jump, and I think Thomas Dodd in the shot put, I think. So we'll do good, man.
Okay.
We'll do good.
All right. So you said 11.
No less than 11.
11.
And no more than 13.
13. All right. So we'll hold you to those
Not a worry.
predictions. All right, Mr. Wright, thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
All right, you're watching Public Interest on PBC Jamaica. When we come back, Karen Brown looks at sugary drinks in schools.
Effective January 1, 2019, the government of Jamaica imposed a ban which restricted certain types of sugary drinks in schools and public health institutions. Minister of Health Dr. Christopher Tufton indicated that the prevalence of obesity in adolescents 13 to 15 years increased by 68% over the past 7 years. He stated that approximately 70% of Jamaican children consume one or more sugar-sweetened beverages per day, which makes it more likely for our children to develop type 2 diabetes. To find out the measures that schools have implemented to enforce the ban on sugary drinks, we visited the St. John's Primary School and the Ubbiston Kinder Prep.
St. John's Primary School was established in 1973. We just celebrated 45 years in last school year. And we are a shift school, and we operate from 7 a.m. to 12 on one shift, and then from 12 to 5 on the other shift. We boast a student population of over 1,500 students and an academic staff of over 60, plus an ancillary staff of over 20. As an institution, we really were almost ahead of the game because we were in compliance to the regulations of this policy. So there were a few drinks that we had to take off the market, just a few, and water is always a wonderful alternative to sugary drink. So we encourage children to drink a lot of water, and we encourage them to take their own bottled water to school. And we have realized too that the suppliers are in compliance because the companies that supply us, they are working with the policy. So the drinks that we offer in the tuck shop, they are in compliance with the policy. Well, the alternative at the ministry's perspective would be to ensure that we have drinks that are within the range, which is 6% per serving, and I think that perhaps enough was done or a lot was done to sensitize the suppliers, because we are getting drinks that have that, and what is not there we don't take. And another alternative from the ministry's perspective is, again, the water. Healthy lifestyle comes with drinking a lot of water, and that is being touted as the way forward for young people and adults alike. So we do get water. So we no longer have the bag juice, which used to be fruit juice, or the milk, but we have water instead. It is impactful enough because in the general space, people are listening and people are complying, and that's the first step to get the listening ear, to get the public to buy in to whatever is being sold. So I think most administrators, and this school's administration is one, we have listened, we have heard, and we have recognized the need for this kind of intervention. So in turn, we have passed it on to our teachers, to the students, to the canteen staff, to the tuck shop staff. So I find that here, more children are bringing water to school, more children are coming to going to the canteen or to the guidance counselors asking for a bottle of water. More children are coming down to our water station to have water, and that too has encouraged us. As a matter of fact, this year what we did was we built a new drinking trough, because we realized that we had to ensure that the area that the children are utilizing so greatly is of a certain standard. So we built a new drinking trough, which is different from our washing area, so that children can feel comfortable enjoying water in a clean, safe environment. So the vendors are there, and the vendors we ensure that we asked if they were aware, and they are. And the truth is that some of our very own suppliers supply them, but then the children are attracted to certain things, and the vendors are out there to make a living, so they are going to provide what the children are attracted to, even though they are educated. So our hands are tied though, where that is concerned. So we are waiting on a higher intervention in that order.
We also journeyed to Aubuston Kinder Prep to find out how the school has enforced the ban on sugary drinks.
Aubuston Kinder Prep, we cater to age group 3-year-olds to 12-year-old, and we have a population of 252. The school was established in 1971 by the Church of the Open Bible. Okay, we encourage the children to drink a lot of water. Instead of taking several boxes of juice, we encourage them and actually have a time specified for drinking water in class. More so in the kindergarten classes and the lower prep school. We have devised a plan where we stop selling the drinks that have a lot of sugar. There's a limit now, and we sell more juices than drink. We're having a bit of challenge with the parents who still believe that even though the sugar drinks are not sold here, they still pack them in their lunch cans. So it is an ongoing project that we have to do. We have to continue to encourage the parents to give them more of the juices and pay attention to the sugary content. It's a policy of the school that we don't encourage vending. Parents in prep schools, though, on a whole, are not exposed to vendors at the school gate and that type of thing. But even then, it's a policy of the school that we don't encourage vending at the gate. Challenge we have here at Aubuston is that most of the children don't like to eat other types of starch except rice. They love a lot of rice. So we cook vegetable rice, reggae rice. We do pasta sometimes. We also do like soup, so that on a soup day, there's not a lot of starch in the soup, a lot of vegetables, more so chicken soup too. So we encourage them to cut down on the rice, but there are times when we do other things and the children leave it. But we're trying to change the culture anyway. All the classes do physical education. They have 1-hour sessions of physical education. The children are encouraged to play at lunchtime. And after school, a little playing is done, but we try to curtail that because we do not have enough supervision after school to really supervise the play. But lunchtime is when they really get at it. So lunchtime is 1 hour. So out of that time, they can get roughly 20 to 25 minutes of play. I'm hoping that this program will be enacted in a very serious way, because I can see where it is doing harm to our society. So many diabetic children around, so many diabetic adults. So sending out the message early to children should have an impact in a positive way.
The ban on sugary drinks in schools is aimed at reducing the instances of non-communicable diseases, which is the #1 cause of death among Jamaicans.
Thank you, Karen, for that report, and thanks to all the members of the production team. That does it for this edition of Public Interest. Join us next week. See you then.